Pat Battle here with Living Web Farms, here to talk about collards, working with the Utopian Seed project and Chris Smith on their ultra cross collard mix. These were provided to us by the Utopian Seed project as part of a grow out across a very large array of heirloom collards. As you can see, there's wonderful diversity in here. And in discussing it with Chris, we're going to save several different selections from this cross. And that might sound pretty hard, but actually it's very easy if you learn, like I have, to cherish the flower buds of collards. The flower buds and actually the stems. We'll get to a place where I can show you the stems. The stems are actually incredibly sweet and wonderful. This is an example. I've been eating these for about 20 years and preaching or evangelizing their incredible culinary quality. I really adore these. It's one of my favorite spring vegetables. And in order to get several selections from great diversity, it's going to take a lot of labor in that we have to pull off all of the flowers, and I'm going to pull them in the bud stage when they're wonderful food, from the ones that we're not trying to select from for the moment. So for the moment, we're selecting for purple types. Chris was surprised to see this significant manifestation of purple. There was just a little bit of purple in the original selection, but a lot more purple is showing up. And interestingly, we're finding that the purple is sprouting earlier. So this is not one that you're going to probably grow for heat resistance, but we're going to select. We also have a patch out at our north farm that's taken incredible winter cold, and we're going to select purples from there too. In both patches, we're going to select 3 selections. We're going to select for purple first, then we're going to do a selection of all the diversity. That's not going to include everything. Some of the smaller ones that didn't do well, we won't collect those. But all the ones that did reasonably well, we'll select just for that complete diversity again. But then after that, we'll select for vigor. So we'll select from ones that are most vigorous. And we'll come across one or two that I'll show you. And actually, I've kind of decided that I'm going to leave 1 or 2 of the most vigorous collards right now to cross with the purples. Because this is early in the purple selection stage, and we want to make sure that we're getting vigor in there too. Later on, we'll select just for purple. So you can just take a look and see, as I said, the purples tend to be sprouting earlier. But now we're starting to get, like, I will pull all of the flowers off of this guy. And this one here, not looking that vigorous and stuff, we'll probably always pull the flowers off that. We're probably going to select that out of the mix. But ones like this one here, this one will be part of our total cross mix later on. And this will definitely be one that we'll want because it's looking nice and strong. But right now, it's just that wonderful. And that stem, folks, there's more sweetness in the collard stem than anywhere else. So you really want to enjoy those stems. And the way I do it is I will see longer stems too. Like it's so hard for me not to pick this because this would be delicious all the way down to there. You kind of snap it like asparagus, where it snaps easy. That's where you take it. All that stem is going to be delectable and sweet and delicious. But because it's purple, it gets to stay. So all the purples get to stay, but anybody else, and I take them early now. I like the stems, but because I don't want any to flower, as soon as I see any of the green ones that are flowering, they get picked. And we will get to some that are. Oh, and I wanted to point this out. This is interesting. I don't know that it's actually anything we're going to want, but it looks like disease, but I think it's actually just the coloration of the purple. Will somebody select someday for purple spotted collards? Who knows? You know, it actually I think looks pretty ugly and diseased, but down the road, who knows? So here you can see this guy's just starting to sprout. Normally I'd let it get taller, but because I don't want to take any chance that the green ones are going to flower and cross with the purples right now, I'm going to break it. And then the other thing to learn, it's like what you know about broccoli too, is the further down you take it, the bigger the next sprout is. And of course, bigger sprouts are always more fun to eat. So I take it as far down as I can. But you can see there's little baby sprouts coming off of all those. And the higher up you leave it, the more they start doing smaller and smaller ones. So you want to take as much stem as you can get. So let's just keep walking along and seeing what else we see here. Here's an example. I'll take this guy here all the way down to here. The only reason I wouldn't take more is I want to leave more leaf for it to produce more seed later on. This is absolutely, I'm always like celebrating when the collards are bolting. Oh, and the final selection we're going to do here actually is going to be the very last ones to bolt, because this is in a greenhouse, so we can't really use this for selecting for cold tolerance, but instead we'll select for the last ones to bolt for heat tolerance. Here's an example of a primo sprout. Down the road in a couple of years, I'm thinking about selecting for ones that make big buds, first buds, and growing a collard that is for greens, but also is purposely selected for big buds in the springtime. I think someday it's going to be a crop. People will all be anticipating the collard. Collard Robbie is one of the names that Chris is calling it, and I was thinking too. Not kohlrabi, but collard Robbie. So that's how we're going to do it. And it is, as I say, very labor intensive, but the good news is this is all like the best eating. So if you want to save different strains from a collard patch, that would be the way to do it. And that's what's going to happen right now. I'm going to not have you watch every last bit of it, but I'm going to work through this whole patch and pick every last flower I can find that's not purple. With the exception, they're not doing it yet, but there's a couple of really big collards down here at the other end. Let's go take a quick look at them. Like this guy right here, I'm going to I actually took a flower off it last time, but I'm going to let this go to seed because I want to cross a little bit of that vigor into the purples. So a couple really bigs, maybe that one there too, really nice big collards. We'll let those guys go to seed and cross into the, but this one here is not quite vigorous enough, so it's going to be all the way down here again. And you can just see, I don't know if you heard, but how easily that snapped. It's really tender. That whole stem is going to be absolutely delicious. It's such good eatings. So even if you're not going to save seed, harvest your collard buds. Don't miss out on that special spring vegetable that only gardeners and farmers get to eat right now. Someday you'll see it in the supermarket, but not yet.